So let's start with the obvious part. The part nobody should still be confused about. Donald Trump is terrified of the Epstein because he doesn't know what's in him, but because he knows exactly what's in him. And his paranoia seems to have made him break the law yet again. And this time he's dragging Pam Bondi and the rest of his PDF protectors down with him. According to multiple reports, Trump never wanted these files out. And that dispute reportedly contributed to his very public breakup with Marjorie Taylor Greene. What followed appears to be a frantic effort to keep damaging material from seeing the light of day. But the clock ran out, the deadline hit, and the files dropped, and some of what Trump wanted buried was exposed anyway. We're about to lay it all out for you, but first, please hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so we could keep bringing you videos like this one. This is Pragmotiv News, and it's your boy Trey. This didn't just start on Friday night. Trump has always treated the Epstein story like a live wire, something to avoid touching, something to deflect, something to downplay whenever it pops back up. We've seen the public comments Trump has made about Epstein years ago. His social proximity has been documented repeatedly, and we have also witnessed his pattern of defensiveness whenever Epstein is mentioned. None of that is accidental. What's changed is the risk that documents might be read instead of ignored, the risk that timelines might get lined up, the risk that people might stop letting this fade into the background. That's the thing he fears the most. So now let's talk about these files that were released on Friday, because the timing tells it all. The documents dropped on a quiet Friday night, right before Christmas. That's not random. That's strategy. Friday night is when the newsrooms thin out, cable coverage slows, and social media engagement drops. If the release were harmless, if it cleared Trump completely, it would have been rolled out loudly, confidently, and definitely not on a Friday night. Instead, it was dumped when they hoped no one would be watching, which honestly speaks to their character and lack of judgment. Because, hello, the Epstein files has been the only thing everyone has been talking about. So the notion that no one cared is wishful thinking on Trump's part. People don't bury good news. They bury things because they're afraid of the fallout. So most of what they released on Friday was entirely redacted. But this photo is one of the ones that slipped through that Trump did not want us to see. You see that it's a photo of him in a drawer with Epstein. So according to AP News, at least 16 files disappeared from the Justice Department's public webpage for documents related to Jeffrey Epstein, including a photograph showing Donald Trump less than a day after they were posted, with no explanation from the government and no notice to the public. The missing files, which were available Friday and no longer accessible by Saturday, included images of paintings depicting nude women and one showing a series of photos along a credenza and in drawers. In that image, inside a drawer, among other photos, was a photograph of Trump alongside Epstein, Melania, and Epstein's longtime associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. The Justice Department didn't answer questions Saturday about why the files disappeared, but said in a post on X that, quote, photos and other materials will continue being reviewed and redacted consistent with the law in an abundance of caution as we receive additional information, end quote. The fuck kind of word salad was that? So this is where this moves from suspicious to potentially illegal. There are growing claims that records connected to Epstein-related material are being deleted, altered, or not preserved as required by the new law. That's not just bad optics, that's a legal issue. Because Trump signed the Epstein Files Transparency Act into law after Republicans and Democrats placed it on his desk. So he knows that the new law mandates that the DOJ disclose all unclassified materials related to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. It also requires disclosure of information about individuals named in connection with Epstein's activities, such as government officials, flight logs, and travel records. Details on any immunity deals, plea bargains, or settlements, as well as the internal DOJ communications about decisions regarding Epstein or his associates, have to be released as well. Additionally, documents related to Epstein's death in custody are included. The law specifies that the file should be published on a government website in a searchable and downloadable format, and that all of this was supposed to be released no later than Friday, December 19th, 2025. So Pam Bondi and the rest of the DOJ seem to be very blatantly breaking the law. So, of course, now they come out to defend themselves after trying to ignore the public pressure to deliver on what the law requires. Take a look.
Redactions, which you raised, the Epstein Files Transparency Act prohibits redactions, quote, on the basis of embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity. Has anything been redacted on that basis?
Absolutely, positively not. And that's another trend that is just simply false. There were a number of photographs that were pulled down after being released on Friday. That's because a judge in New York has ordered us to listen to any victim or victim rights group if they have any concerns about the material that we're putting up. And so when we hear concerns, whether it's photographs of women that we do not believe are victims or we didn't have information to show that they were victims, but we learned that there are concerns, of course we're taking that photograph down.
Saying that one or more of the women in one of the photos or several of the photos is a victim or a survivor of Jeffrey Epstein, and that's why you took those files down, and will they be put back up?
No, that's not what I'm saying. We, of course, if we knew that, if we believed that photograph contained a survivor, we wouldn't have put it up in the first place without redacting the faces. But notwithstanding what we believe, we don't have perfect information. And so when we hear from victims' rights groups about this type of photograph, we pull it down and investigate. We're still investigating that photo. The photo will go back up, and the only question is whether there will be redactions on the photo. And of course, if there are survivors in any of the photos, we will redact them as Congress expects us to do, as President Trump expects us to do, and as the Attorney General and Director Patel have directed the department to do.
Okay, let's delve more deeply into the redactions. Is any information about President Trump redacted in any of the files that have or will be released?
No. Not unless it's supposed to be redacted under the law, which means victim information or any sort of privilege, like attorney-client privilege. But I have no reason to believe that the lawyers that were working on this case were talking about President Trump, because he had nothing to do with the Epstein files. He had nothing to do with the horrific crimes that Mr. Epstein committed. And so I don't expect there will be anything redacted. But the short answer is we are not redacting information around President Trump, around any.
So it's obvious to me he is just out and out lying. As Kristen said, the law is very clear that you cannot redact files based on how damaging they would be politically. But yet, that's what they're already doing. They're clearly doing that, in my opinion. Also, notice how Pam Bondi is scared to even come forward. So she is putting her deputy in the crossfire. This to me says she knows it's illegal what they're doing, and she doesn't have the guts to defend it. None of this should surprise anyone. It really shouldn't, because this is exactly how the Trump administration operates: chaotic, secretive, and allergic to accountability. And that's why this moment matters. This is usually where people throw their hands up and say, okay, but what happens now? Here's the truth. Things can happen, but only if there's enough pressure. Some Democrats have called for formal investigations, subpoenas, related to the missing or altered information and records, oversight hearings focused on document handling, and independent reviews of the Epstein-related files. They have also been clear about one thing, that destroying records isn't a technical mistake, it's a violation of the law. But none of this moves forward automatically. We can't fix this by doom scrolling. We have to hold Congress accountable, as well as Trump and all his minions. We can only fix this by showing up. November isn't just another election. It's a referendum on whether this kind of corruption gets rewarded or restrained. Whoever controls Congress gets to control the committees that decide whether these subpoenas get issued, whether investigations stall or move, and whether accountability exists or disappears. Now look, I'll leave the math to my co-host Cam because he's our resident numbers guy. But I do know this much. If turnout hits unprecedented levels, we can defy expectations. We can flip the House, we can flip the Senate, and if we stay focused and organized, we could even reach a veto-proof majority. That's not wishful thinking. That's what participation does. They want you tired. They want you discouraged. They want you convinced your vote doesn't matter. Because the moment you stop believing in your power is the moment they win. So if this country matters to you at all, you have to show up. You have to talk about this. You have to tell everyone who will listen and even the ones who won't listen. This is not the election to sit out. Do your homework, know your candidates, and if you don't see anything worth voting for, run yourself. That's how serious this is. So if this video resonated with you, pass it on. Share this video with your family and your friends, especially someone who needs to hear this. We're closing in on 1,000 subs, and every subscriber, like, and comment helps us more than you know. Also remember that you can find us on all the platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, and iHeart, and wherever else you get your podcasts. So that's going to do it for me today and for this week. This is my last show before Christmas, so I just want to take a moment to wish all of you a Merry Christmas and a happy holiday season. No matter how you celebrate, I'm wishing you nothing but joy this holiday season. I know things feel rough in the country right now. A lot of us are carrying a lot. But whenever you can, give yourself permission to enjoy the moment and really cherish the joy when it shows up. Cameron will be back tomorrow for our final show before Christmas, and I'll see y'all right back here next Monday. Until then, take care and enjoy the holidays. Peace.